Hey, we're
Yeah.
live. Welcome
Yeah.
back to another episode of Live here on Keystroke Medium. I am Josh Hayes here with my co-host Scott Moon. Chuck Manley's on his way. Apparently, he's having computer issues. Welcome to the show, everyone. Also, if you notice, I'm wearing a really cool Santa hat. It's actually Santa wearing a hat, so it's like a twofer.
It's a little
Thing.
confusing.
So I've got the little hat.
If you just duck your chin down, then you get the full effect of the hat.
So this is going to be just me talking the whole. It's going to be Santa doing the whole live.
Santa barely moves his mouth when he talks. It's really weird.
Santa is a ventriloquist. You didn't know.
The Venquilla Santa. La la la
la. Welcome everybody in the live chat. I'm gonna scroll back here and see. I got a late post. Late post for the show because I was busy today, but it looks like Rick Partlow had the first chat in live chat. So let's give Rick the golf clap of appreciation.
Yep.
Being first commenter, and welcome everyone. All the usuals are in the live chat. Luke Shadow is there. Rick.
I think we should start each show with reading the live chat before we got here verbatim.
Yeah.
I'm sure nothing had been said inappropriate during the live chat pre-show.
I sound robotic. Do I still sound robotic?
You a little bit, but kind of coming and going.
Right now, I do.
What's happening?
I know.
Do you have your dictation set turned on?
No.
You have Synergy?
No. My internet is on Wi-Fi right now. I'm not hardwired in.
Why not?
Because I moved it to the other computer.
It's unacceptable. What are you doing?
I know.
Why'd you do that?
I'm sorry.
Because you got a new computer, and now the Mac is like
there. If it continues to be horrible, let me know and I'll fix it. I can.
And can you do that in the middle of the show?
It's debatable. I don't know. We can try. We can certainly try. Or you're just gonna have to deal with Mr. Roboto.
Yes.
Something. I was gonna sing the song, but I couldn't remember what the chorus was.
Yeah, it'd be embarrassing if I tried.
I
remember Domo Arigato. Yeah, Merry Christmas.
In 2 days. It's Christmas Eve. And I used to try to play a game with my parents whenever it was Christmas time. And can we do Christmas Eve presents? Does that work?
Oh yeah, we always did that. We always had a countdown trying to get those.
And it never worked. So usually we get to do our stocking stuffers like Christmas Eve.
Right. You could bargain. You could always negotiate. If you're like my kids, you're so relentless with your negotiation, it's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the perfect salesman.
Or if you're like Carter, Carter decided, we've had our presents out and done for the kids. No, probably going on like 2.5 weeks now. Like at least 2.5 weeks.
Carter said enough's enough.
Yeah. Carter was done. He was just walked up, started opening presents, found this huge, big, like toy dinosaur that Jamie was really excited about for him to open on Christmas morning. And we didn't even realize he was opening the presents because I was upstairs. Jamie was gone. My oldest daughter was here, but she was taking a shower or something. And then bam, Jordan comes up and goes, "Dad, Carter's opening presents." And I was like, "What?" Went upstairs, there's wrapping paper all over the place. Presents are open. We try to like rectify it and like put the presents up. But then like he freaked out, like had this like total nuts like breakdown of just epic proportions. And yeah, so he ended up getting the big T-Rex because he would not be quiet and would not stop. But he saw like 2 or 3 other presents in the process. And so now like all day today, I want my other toy. No, you can't have it.
Not going to happen. You'd think that they like, kids open their presents early or they sneak around and find their presents. You'd think they like started like selling meth or something. You're so furious with them. Like, how could you do that?
Yeah,
you ruined Christmas.
Like I remember when I was a kid, like trying to sneak looks, like try to peel off the tape a little bit and like peek in just to see. I would never just like haul off and just open all the presents.
I had a babysitter one year that opened all of her presents for us and then put them back, like carefully slipped the tape, opened them perfectly, closed them, sealed them. Absolutely no evidence that they'd ever been opened. Coolest babysitter that I probably ever had. I mean, I was like, I was like, wow, mind blown.
I don't even know that you could get a better babysitter than that.
I mean, that's pretty impressive. That she's got to had a career in the CIA or something after that. I mean, definitely.
Well, we're talking about stuff that we learned this year on this episode, and I can't believe this is technically the second to last episode of season 4.
Is it the second to last, or is it the last?
No, because we have one episode next week, and that is going to be our goals for next year.
Oh, right. The most important, best one.
Maybe
we'll talk more about the
first episode of season 5. Should we save it for the next episode now that I'm thinking about it?
I don't know. I think we should. I don't know. We could kick off the word count challenge for January.
That's true.
Set up, prepped. Prepping for the word count January.
That's right. We could have like a live writing sprint where everybody just writes for an hour and we see how many words we can get.
Yeah, New Year challenge. Corvo says, "Who can get a movie deal?"
Oh, that's a really, really good challenge.
It's a lot of pressure.
You don't know the first thing about pressure. I'm trying to find this thing. Where is this thing for the sponsor tonight? I don't know where it went. Did you see the last episode of The Mandalorian?
7?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap. And you know there's not going to be another one until like the 27th? Is that what day it is? Because they're not doing this. Well, maybe they are.
What and that I'm trying to remember which one. What was number 7?
It's the what you call?
Oh, Yoda got. Oh, never mind. Sorry, spoiler. Spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Somebody said there wasn't going to be another episode till the 27th, but that's this week, so we're not skipping a week. Somebody said we were skipping a week. Oh, that's what it was, because they released it early.
Mm-hmm.
They released it early, and then because of what's that movie that just came out? Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, which I went and saw.
You saw it?
I did.
What did you think?
I liked it.
Really?
I mean, you could tear it apart. You could do all the things. I mean, I read Richard Fox's blog thing later, and he pointed out some things. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's kind of impossible. Several things. I mean, so I could do the biggest things would be huge spoilers. But anyway, go ahead.
No. For some reason, I need to figure out how to fix Synergy linked the two computers, right? Well, for some reason, when my PC goes to sleep, it also turns the screensaver on my Mac. I'm really
just keep one hand over here the whole time, moving your mouse.
Yeah.
What's he doing with his mouse? Why is he always moving his mouse around?
Doing that? Let's see. Where's my mouse now? I lost it on this computer now. This is like the most on point beginning of an episode ever. Chrono says, "Merry Christmas. Let's throw Hans Gruber off the rooftop of Nakatomi Plaza."
Oh, we actually did that too. Yeah.
We just watched that movie last night.
Yep. It's amazing. It just takes me back. I'll tell you what.
I think Die Hard is probably my favorite Christmas movie. Everybody says like they make the comparison between that and Christmas Vacation. I don't know. I'm all about
I'm tired all the way.
Yeah.
I see when Die Hard came out in 1988, like a month or a week after I saw it in Garden City, I moved to Los Angeles, California as an 18-year-old wannabe guitarist. And I watched that. And then so one day there was a triple feature, because when I grew up, you had to wait like 6 months for a new movie because I lived out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And that's the way it was. They didn't have streaming back then. So, but I remember I went and I watched a double feature for $1 on Hollywood Boulevard. It was Die Hard, Lethal Weapon 2, and Batman. Kind of when they first started doing Batman's.
That's a really good triple header.
I was like, wow. And there's a lot of homeless people in there with me too. So it's kind of even more awesome because it smelled good. It's like, man, if I was homeless, I would totally watch movies all day.
That's right.
It seemed like a great plan. So yeah, those were good. Yeah.
Speaking of triple header, I found the sponsor for tonight's episode.
Yeah.
And it is we posted it in the group earlier today. It's a GoFundMe for Chastity Robillard. It's Walt Robillard's wife. She found out recently she was diagnosed with cancer, and this is a GoFundMe to help her with her medical expenses. I shared it in the group. We ran it on Thursday on the Riot Journey, and I wanted to run it again tonight.
For sure, everybody should do something
for
with that.
Walt. So if you got a couple dollars, throw them over on the donation page. I put the link in the live chat. We'll talk a little bit about it later. Chuck's trying to get in. Apparently having connection issues.
Reboot problems.
And if you were privy to the Monday Night Crew chat, he's going very crazy with the expletives. Calm down, Chuck.
Oh no, I gotta pull it open. Oh, nice. Here, I'm gonna read them. I wish I could do like a perfect imitation of Chuck's voice because I would read all of his chats.
Yeah.
Just add it.
I wonder if I need to move my connection over. Hey, talk about something for a minute. I'm gonna move my wired connection over again.
Are you gonna try it? So I'm just gonna talk about stuff.
Okay. I can plug it in. I don't know if it'll work.
I'll do it. Give it a whirl. So, a couple of things that Josh and I are both trying out here lately is I talked to Ken Lazito a while back, and I can't remember if we talked about him on the show or some other time, but he has a setup where he takes has like more than one computer, and he uses a app called Synergy, and I think that the website is called Seamless. It's spelled funny, like SYMLASS or something. They use Synergy, and so I have a PC laptop that I do my dragging dictation on, and I have my Scrivener open over here on my Mac, and so then I dictate, and then I just my mouse will work on all the computers. It's just a pretty common thing. But so I'll take my Mac mouse from my Mac over to my Windows PC, my Yoga, and copy it, drag it over, drop it into my Mac program, and then it's like works perfect. So that's really handy. But we both have that now. We've both been experimenting with it. So when he was talking earlier about how his computer turns off and then it affects the other stuff, it's just little things we hadn't quite worked out on that. So those are some technical issues that aren't too bad. I could just dive into probably the biggest negative thing that affected me in 2019 is my Scrivener for my phone doesn't work. It won't synchronize. And that was like really had become a really important part of my process. So I've been spending about the last 2.5 months recovering from that. I think I finally got a system worked out, largely involving the Synergy thing.
Okay. I think the connection's swapped over now. If it
maybe it's the hat that makes you sound like a Santa robot. So.
I don't know. It might take a minute for the connection to swap over to Ethernet, but it is plugged in now, so hopefully it'll work better. I need to maybe turn off the.
Lauren wants to know what's on your head.
So, Lauren, this is my Santa Claus hat. As you can see, it's Santa with a. Oh, there we go. The hat. It's Santa wearing a hat, which is my hat. That's Santa wearing a hat. It's not a doll or a collectible.
Which is why you have it.
Which is why I have it. Need to figure out what's going on here. Chuck's trying to get in.
He's trying a third time. Third time's a charm.
Are you there, Chucky?
I hear something banging around.
Here.
Maybe we'll hear some of his expletives.
He doesn't know he's on. He's gonna start cursing.
Yeah,
That's
blop.
funny.
Oh no.
Womp,
He
womp, womp. There he
dropped
goes
off
again.
again.
So anyway, now that we're 17 minutes into the show and haven't really talked about anything, I want to talk
your
about.
hat.
We can talk about the hat. What
Talk
we
about
learned
my watch for my 9-year-old freaking cracked me in the face today while we were wrestling with his watch.
don't wrestle with 9-year-olds while they're wearing watches.
man.
That's the takeaway from that.
Extremely violent.
I posted a thing in the Facebook group last week, wondering what everybody had learned or taken away from this season as viewers and or listeners, because I'm curious. Legitimately curious about what everyone has learned from the show, if anything. And so I wanted to take a minute and look at a couple of those. Here's the post. And we got some pretty good responses. I'll talk about some of those responses. If you guys in the live chat think of anything that you've learned or been inspired to do or whatever, let us know. Let's see. Corvo says Chuck's coming in like a wrecking ball. Yes, it's true.
It is true.
Okay, let's see. So
I guess
Ben Stevens was the first to comment, and he says, "Well, I'm late to the party, but I've learned this. Podcasts are fun and educational, and I was never a podcast guy before, but since meeting y'all, I've given it a go." Meaning Scott and I. Only got 4 episodes so far since Vegas, but thoroughly enjoyed all of them and learned some tips as well. Looking forward to more. Thanks, Ben. Yep. I appreciate that. And we always try to, our goal is to provide one small tip of useful information, one small bit, one thing
to make it worth the price of admission
that you can take away. Mm-hmm. And if we can do that, then that is a win in our book. And one thing that I like about this year is that we've seen a lot of growth, and all of our growth is organic. And I think that that's super cool. We've gone, let's see how many people we've garnered this year. Is that right? I love the hat. I love everybody in Facebook commenting, but I can't see who you are. I'll bring up the Facebook thing and see, but thank you for the hat. I love the hat. I think it's throwing me off a little bit. Let's see. We had a question in the chat. What is the airspeed velocity of an air-laden swallow? Well, it depends on whether it's a European or an African swallow, sir. You have to be very technical when you talk about this kind of stuff. These are really, really scientific questions that you're asking.
What?
African, not European, is what he says.
What is your favorite color?
Yellow. Blue.
You have to know these things when you're king.
Let's see. In the live chat, Bard Luke says, "I've learned a lot about opening, grabbing a reader's imagination with more powerful phrasing, a lot about collabs, and a lot about writing faster. Openings is where it's at." There I go again with the screensaver, and we're back. Openings, I think, is one of the biggest things that I focus on, kind of to a fault almost, when I start a book, because I hate starting a book and not having the opening right. And I like, you go to the thing where you write and then you write the whole thing from the beginning and then you go back and finish. For me, it's one of those things where if I don't have the opening, the whole rest of the book is just screwed for me. And so it sometimes it takes me, if I haven't outlined it perfectly, sometimes it takes me a couple weeks to get that. That's Valor 3 has been like that, or I've been kind of fighting with the beginning.
I always jam at the beginning, and then I realize that it wasn't the right beginning. I go back
and then you just fix it later.
Well, I was like, for example, like right now I'm writing Reaper 9, and I wrote the beginning. I really liked it. I revised it several times. I went through it a bunch. I tend to go through them a lot more in the beginning of the story, but then I realized that's not where the story needed to start. And then, so I went back and wrote like another, basically another chapter before that one, and it made it more. There's more at stake, right? Better hook, a little more
Oh, yeah.
action, a little more pow pow going on in the first one. More questions to be answered. Valuable bromance, yeah. It's a lesson learned. So J.R. Hammond got out of the show.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Bow,
Definitely.
bow, bow. There's lots of great stuff in there.
Let's see. Kronos says this podcast taught me that what writers are capable of. Scott Moon's superhuman writing capacity is very inspiring. He is superhuman. How many words did you get today, Scott?
About 3,200 today. But I had a lot of revisions, so that took me like 12 hours to get that done because I had distractions. I had to go get some things done in between times. The big thing we were talking about that earlier today, just you and I, but it's really a matter of consistency because my words for the year are about 2,200 words a day. And that's not that hard for most writers. I mean, most people can hit that fairly consistently. I mean, sometimes I've had my 300 word days or my 10 word days, or the time when you like change one word in a sentence, you're like, that counts as another word. I'm so happy. But that 2,200 words a day is like, I'm at like 760,000 for the year. And that's almost 11 books in certain genres and,
right.
5 or 6 in other genres. So consistency and doing it every day is way more important than slamming these huge word count days where you got 10,000, in my opinion.
I agree. And, at some point you're going to have kind of some diminishing returns on your quality over quantity, I think, in the long term.
Yeah, it depends. I think writing faster makes it easier I think there's some quality advantages to writing fast too.
I think
because
you have that process down. Yeah.
Yeah. But because so if you paint, like I used to draw a lot. And so like when in high school I'd be drawing and it'd be like drawing on a really tiny small part of it. And then you've got to pull back. Well, when you write fast, it's like pulling back and seeing the whole page. You're not focused on one chapter. You get to see more of the whole book. And so I think that's an advantage. Now, obviously there is quality control issues, but that's why we have editors.
Yeah, exactly.
That we can torture.
So this year, according to YouTube Analytics, this year we have gained 319 subscribers, which is awesome. We've had 22,000 viewers, 22,500 viewers. And over this year, our viewers have watched 5,000 hours of our little show here.
5,000 hours. That's a bunch.
5,000 hours. That's pretty cool, in my opinion.
It is. It's freaking amazing.
It's up from last year where we had 3,000 hours of views, gained 100 subscribers, and had 13,000. So we've almost doubled what we did in 2018 and 2019. So I think 2020 is going to be phenomenal. Okay. Let's see. We have so this post from Jay Clifton Slater is awesome. Scott Moon reinforcing listening as a final edit step for my books. Number 2, writing in a genre, even though it's popular just to make sales, creates a job you hate. That's
very true.
It's very accurate. Number 3, Josh is a madman who is fanatical about tracking his word counts until he's not. That's 100%, 100% accurate. 100%. I was fanatical about tracking them up until like September, and then I didn't track them at all. It
was over.
And it was like, we're done.
Done. Click. Checking.
But we're gonna get back in that because we were talking about the whole synergy thing. So I got this new computer for Christmas from my wife, and it serves 2 purposes. One, it's a gaming rig because I'm a geek.
I was going to say to play games.
And 2, I can run Dragon Naturally Speaking Professional 15. And with Dragon, naturally speaking, yes, you can dictate, but more importantly, I can instead of just looking at the screen while I'm dictating voice to text, I can record a sound file on my phone and then transcribe it in Drag. So the app actually also does transcribing. So you could do it on here, but the transcribing on Dragon is much more efficient and is a little more accurate. So I wrote like 700 words by hand, and then I did almost 2,000 words transcribed on a 45-minute drive home after I took my kids back. And so got almost 3,000 words in like 2 hours, an hour and a half total time. So that was good for me, and also with Synergy, I was talking about that. And that's what's messing my computer up right now. I can basically have them on my PC and then copy and paste them directly to my Mac without doing anything funky. And it's pretty legit. It's pretty cool.
Luke mentioned you could do the same thing. Luke had mentioned when I first talked about that you could obviously do your Dragon on and then put it in Dropbox and then open it up on your Mac and stuff, which is good. And I've done that too. But this is just neat because you can literally just take things back and forth. Like I'll take things out of my Scrivener, drop it into the document I'm working on so I can manipulate it, drop it back in, and it's literally like doubles your computer. So it's very handy. I'm really liking it.
I like what Guy Anthony says right here. Guy Anthony Marco says word counting is great for building up your speed until it is a habit and consistent. That's very, very, very true.
Consistency is key.
Okay, so let's see. Number 4 on Jay Clifton's list. Papa Chuck is not a fantasy miner, but rather a tall human male. Lauren Moore is a modern day Dick Cavett. Who's Dick Cavett? I'm not sure I get that reference. Do you know who Dick Cavett is?
Dick Cavett's a host. Dick Cavett.
Kayleen has an amazing voice. Number 7, Josh has babysitting instead of writing issues. That's very true. I have both. I have both. Number 8, Scott Moon has a heart problem or not.
Comes and goes.
Lauren Moore has a crazy cool Walt Rebiller voice. That's also true. Kayleen is an epic voice that explodes from the speakers. That's true. And if you guys haven't caught her story time with Kayleen segments on the Facebook group, they're freaking phenomenal. We don't have them on the podcast. So if you listen or watch live and you're not a part of the Facebook group, you'll miss her story time with Kayleen bits. And they are great. She'll read one chapter out of a book. Completely random, I think, and she does a really good job. We've been telling her she needs to get into audio narration because she really does have the voice for it, I think.
Yep, very awesome.
And Papa Chuck, number 11. Papa Chuck is a pantser who doesn't like to travel. That's very true.
Although we're going to humans.
That's right. We're going to try to get him to Vegas next year. Let's see. Bill Frisbee says, learn something new? ? Without a doubt. Found new authors for sure. I think it is important. I think it's also important that I found out I am not alone. And then he has a meme of, says, surround yourself with those who are on the same mission as you. And I completely agree, Bill. That's why I like our group and the organic growth that we have. And it's not a huge couple thousand member group. Not right now anyway. It grows slowly and steadily, and I think that brings more value to the group as a whole. Molly says made new friends this year. Dean Floyd says, from a practical standpoint, and thanks to Scott Moon, the Speechify app empowered my editing. Because you do the whole listen to it while you're driving around.
It's a really great tool. I mean, I really like it. And you can do it different ways. I like the Speechify. If you have an iPhone, that you can make it read your screen, which is a little bit clunkier, but you can do that.
Right.
There's different ways, but it's just really good. And it just helps me because I think I'm a very auditory learner. And I like to read it while I listen to it. And it just helps me get into the story. and you definitely pick up stuff that you missed. And when the robot voice has to take a breath to read the sentence, it's way too long. So,
Chuck's
good
trying to
stuff.
come in.
Can
Chuck,
you
we see
hear
your
me?
meme. I can hear you.
I can't get my on the air. I can't get my camera to work. It's
See, now we can't have a screen freeze.
it's
Stop
vexing
Chuck.
me.
No, it's a great.
So
That's not what you said in the chat. You used
only meme.
you used other words in the chat.
Yes, I used
how
one.
vexing it
Actually, I
was.
only used one word. I just used it multiple times.
It's on repeat.
Yeah.
So you know
Yeah.
what? I'm just gonna go with the dumpster fire avatar tonight, and y'all
I like it.
Nice.
lilting voice.
We should all have it. We should do an avatar show. We all just have
Sorry for the
crazy
delay.
avatars.
No, it's all right, Chuck. It's cool. We're just
We've been
going
killing time
through
for
the-
30 minutes till you get here. So
Yeah,
you better have
yeah.
something.
Now that Chuck's here, we can start the show. Let's see. Thomas Hoddle says a lot of things I thought about writing were confirmed. Number 2, I am not alone in this. Number 3, I want Kayleen to read the audio version of Tishla. And number 4, apparently I am not the only one in the Midwest who has a coyote story. That's
Yeah.
rich. We all have
Coyote stories are important. That's what binds us together. Like the force.
and the darkness binds them. Let's see. Tyler Davis says they're terrible golfers, which I kind of resent. I also resent the picture that he posted underneath that.
Probably the best picture of the entire episode.
I don't golf like that. I think something happened to my back. It was really thrown out. Let's see. Leo Vaccaro posts, I wrote this huge diatribe, but decided to trim it down. My big takeaway from KSM is how supportive indie authors are with each other. I met Scott Moon and Josh Hayes at 20 bucks. I am Richard Fox's mentee. Threw me a bit how wrong I was. I expected ego and weirdness, which I think you get a little bit of. But instead I found
especially the weirdness.
That's right. That's right.
Weird
Every day,
salt there.
men and women who have each other's back, specifically in the sci-fi crowd. Glad to be here. Hope to see more, and hopefully today we'll be talking about what I'm working on right now. Mostly, I want to see you succeed. Very cool. Awesome post by Leo. Let's see. Rick Partlow. Manti sounds like a town in Southern California. Yeah. Let's see. My biggest takeaway has been the realization that I should be willing to take some risks and do things I haven't felt comfortable doing. In this business, doing the same thing you've always done doesn't always work. The business changes and you have to change with it. Being exposed to the experiences of you and your guests has made me more open to saying yes to some things I wouldn't have tried a couple of years ago. That's fantastic. That's awesome.
Excuse me.
I love to see that stuff, especially from people who have been with us since the beginning. That's very cool. And Rick's doing a lot of good stuff. Got a lot of good books with on.
Yeah,
Rick's a juggernaut right now.
He's going to win the competition in January, I think. What should we have?
I'm pretty sure
a prize package for the winner.
Yeah,
we'll have a prize package for the winner with the most words, and then a prize package for the person with the least amount of words.
If it's a new webcam, I'm in.
I think we should. There you go. I think that we should basically name or the theme of the word count challenge January should be beat Rick Partlow. It's the can you beat Rick Partlow January word count challenge by Keystroke Media.
I think that would you'd have to be some sort of writerly masochist to go for that one.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, Rick.
Well, let's see. Rick, how many?
Is 7 kinds of badass. I mean, that's crazy.
Rick, how many words do you think you're going to get this next month in January? Let's give us a ballpark. See what you're going for. I think he's been doing 2 to 4,000 a day. What's that?
It's a lot. Well,
that's a lot of words. It's like 90,000 a month.
The only person I know who's written more is Nathan Hysted. Because Nathan, I happen to have Nathan's right here. Nathan has written, Nathan Heisted, if you're watching the show later, this is for you. He's written 1,072,755 words. At least that's what he's logged so far.
Jeez,
Good God.
And that's about 3,000 words a day. So again, I mean, 3,000 words is a lot, but it's not like, you go to 20 books and people are like, I wrote 58,000 words for 6 days in a row. You don't have to do that. You just have to be consistent.
Right. And honestly, that I think, I don't know what you guys have been talking about because I've been fighting with my rig, but that consistency thing, mostly coyotes, the consistency thing is actually what was really brought home to me this past year. I had kind of a rough year production wise. And, I was actually thinking about this yesterday. When your birthday falls as close to the end of the year as mine does, you tend to get real reflective in the months of December and January.
Yeah.
but I just really I think one of the biggest aspects of success in the indie space is just consistent performance and the discipline to just do it every single day. Even if you're only writing a few hundred words a day, you write 100 words a day, 365 days, you're going to have a big chunk of something.
Yep.
I mean, it's it's just that but I think it's, you have to make it a routine, you got to make it part of your day. You've got to, sacrifice watching TV for half an hour or whatever it is you need to do to make sure that every single day you're moving forward. You've got that forward momentum on a project, and that's how you get to the finish line. And obviously guys like Rick and Nathan, they have that down to a fine art.
Crushed it.
And it keeps you, and besides just the actual word output, it also keeps you in the writing space, and it develops those habits, and it sends yourself a psychological signal that this is important to me because I do it every day. But if you just do it when it's easy, then you send yourself signals like, well, this is not really a real thing. I just come when it's, you don't build like confidence. But when you know that you've done, like, I think I've had 3 0 days this year, maybe a couple more. I have to go count them up, but I almost never have a 0. Even if I can only write for 5 minutes, I will write 5 words so I can put it on my spreadsheet. And it sets you up psychologically, I think.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yeah. You make it part of your habit.
We're thinking about buying a house, which is Josh. I've been talking to Josh about it. House discussions has been a long and anyway, a lot of talking about that. But my wife said to me today, says, so when we build this house, you're going to be okay with it and understand that it's going to take a lot of time. I said, yeah, but I'm still going to write. And because I'll give up something else instead. I'll give up working out.
Right.
And I may not write as much, but I will write. I mean, I don't care if I'm moving or whatever, or it's like the Stephen King thing where he had the famous quote where he said, I write every day except for my birthday and Christmas. But then if you read his book on writing, he says, that was a lie. I write on my birthday and Christmas. And he in that book too, and I'm sure most people here have read it, but that he talks a lot about, he says, what do people do when they're not writing? Make quilts or something? And he said, I'm not being a jerk. I really want to know, because that's the focus of his world, is to write stories. So
it's funny. I saw George R.R. Martin actually interviewing Stephen King, and he asked him, he says, because everybody's on Martin about being so slow and so late with everything and all this. And he asked King, how do you write so damn many books? And he just says, I just write every day, George. Yeah. I get down words every single day, and, it adds up in the end. I mean, it's really kind of simple. It's it's simple. It's just not necessarily easy.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. And it's one of those things that you really have to focus on, and if you lose it, it's really quickly, it can become very perishable as a skill, especially if you don't focus on it a lot. And Scott and I talked about that today. And on top of doing kind of the transcription end of things, where I'm going to try to spend at least an hour transcribing or dictating, however you want to call it, to get my words in. this coming year, also getting up early again, because I stopped getting up early after I went full time for the most part, in probably April or May. I stopped getting up early, and that really affected the word that I got during the day. And so I think here after the holidays, I'm going to transition back to that, getting up at 5. Probably won't get up at 4, but I'll probably get up at 5 and do at least an hour and a half to 2 hours of work before the kids get up, and that way I'm kind of ahead of the curve.
After staying home for a while, I kind of found that if I wanted to be productive, that's what I had to do. I had to get up before they were up, and it's not so bad now. But I'm in the habit now, and I'm still out of bed between 5 and 6 every morning, depending.
It makes it easier, because even if you have a totally crappy word count day and you get 262 words, you still wrote that day. And I've had lots of those, like getting up and writing before work, and then I have a tech problem with my computer, and I blow up Josh's thing. Of course, he's not up yet. He wakes up to like 30,000 messages about how frustrated about my computer,
and half of them are deleted.
Yeah, and then or like I'll realize I was supposed to do a newsletter that I promised somebody, and it takes out all my writing time, but I still get at least 30 minutes, and that can really add up. That consistency is good. And again, it sends, I think, whether you get up super early or whether it's just like my son wakes up at noon every day, but if he wrote the first thing, it would still be the first thing he did every day. And that's what you're doing, is you're telling yourself, this is what's important to me because I do it first.
Right.
Some things you can't, like you have to go to work, you have to take care of your kids, you got to do certain other things. But the earlier you do it, the more likely it is to be important to you psychologically and spiritually and all that.
We asked about his word count a couple of minutes ago. Rick says this is his word count for January 2020. It was 100,000 words is what he's going for.
He'll do that easy.
I don't see him having a problem getting
that won't
5,000 words a day for everybody
else.
However, I don't want anybody to be discouraged by the 100,000 word Rick Partlow challenge, because his words are not your words, and we are not doing this to beat Rick, even though we are.
Yeah,
but I think an equally good metric, like what we're talking about, is if you did it every day, even if it was just a little bit, or at least a high number of the days. Say you wrote 25 out of 30 days when you used to do 15 days of writing. I think that would also be a very successful metric.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And we should also, so first thing, everybody, all how many members do we have for Keystroke Medium now? At like 700 subscribers
in the Facebook group.
Oh, it's like 500 and some, right?
It's like 500 something.
Okay, so everybody message Rick all day long, every day. Rick's going to get really popular in January. Just chat him up.
How many words you got now? How many words you got now?
Hey, tell him funny stories, send him silly gifts, ask him about things.
Somebody get his phone number.
Basically.
I've got it. I'll Rick, how do you feel about
you can put that up on the screen, right?
Oh yeah. Let's see.
Subscribing to some services. Yeah, we'll sign them up to about 50 newsletters that are really aggressive.
There you go.
And then
there you go.
Things all the time. So that's our main thing. Sabotage Rick Partlow. That's the other name for the
that's right.
For the January.
The January challenge.
Yeah. Multiple hashtags for this challenge.
There's not going to be a new champion unless somebody could rise from the ashes and make it happen.
Blake Peels in the post in the this is what I learned in season 4. Blake Peels says, haven't been able to participate in the live chat as much lately, but KSM is one of my go-to podcasts. My biggest takeaway from this season is the importance of relationships, in all caps, in the writing world. They open up doors you wouldn't be able to find on your own. Y'all are awesome. Thank you, Blake. And I agree. And that's one of the things that Scott and I have said several times about this show. And even though it was not the reason we started it, that's the reason we keep it going, is the relationships. And I know that Scott and I have obviously gotten some really lucrative and fun money making, writing relationships out of the show, but we've also made a lot of friendships that don't really actually make us any money at all, but are really in the grand scheme of things almost better than the relationships that make us money.
I
Just
can't
based off-
imagine what my life would be like without all the people I've met since we started doing this show. I mean, literally, it's just it's all my people.
Yeah. No, I completely 100% agree. 100%. And every year that we do this, it becomes that much more apparent. Like every year, you'd think like every year we're like, whatever, but it always something every year builds on itself, and not only just in the content of the show or in the growth of the show, but also the growth in our writing careers. And I love even everybody in the group, seeing that they've done this collaboration, or they're doing this, or they have plans for that. I love that. And so I think 2020 is going to be huge for that.
It's fun to see people
Kayleen watching. Hi, Kayleen.
Hey, Kayleen.
Kayleen in the house. It's fun to see people that have met at Keystroke Medium and then have done other things, collaborations or friendships or lots of different stuff. And we saw that a lot at 20 Books too. People hanging out, and just fun stuff. Like we went to Richard Fox took us to In-N-Out Burger, and I can't remember the guy's name that we met there because we met so many people. But we were there, and I'm sitting out there getting ready to eat my burger, and this guy walks up and he says, "A woman in there named Lauren. She told me I was supposed to come sit with you guys, and that you're all writers." So I'm also at the conference. So we sat down, had a huge conversation. He wrote military sci-fi. We talked about military sci-fi, but anyway, it was just funny.
Awesome.
Just meeting people.
Let's see. Dean Floyd has Floyd has a second post. He says, "Josh, last year you reported your total words for the year, and that inspired me to set a goal for this year, which I crushed by increasing my total word count by 9% more than last year while having health problems and starting a new day job career. I also was encouraged by Chuck that writing for love is okay, if not the purest form of writing. Thanks to Kayleen and Lauren, Lauren's interview with Clark C. Chamberlain, I found my favorite structure, the 10 most important scenes, and I have applied that to everything I've written from that episode on. Case in point, my new Star Sleeper was the first story to receive this treatment, and it is accepted into our Farthest Reach anthology. That's right. It's out in stores now available. Pick it up. Steve personally challenged me to not have a boring, sucky characters that he doesn't care for. Point taken. This point blank gut check was just what I needed to grow. Walt and Ellen's editing tips have nuggets of gold scattered throughout, and also rambunctious dogs. And to sum up Keystroke Medium 2019 in one word: inspiring. Sorry for anyone on the team I forgot. Thank you, Dean. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, man.
That's like the most you could ask for from a show. If you can, I mean, if you think about what it means to actually inspire somebody, that's like huge, a life goal. That's a life goal.
That's a big deal.
We talked. I think you told me about the 10 most important scenes, but I made a note there, so I'm learning as we do this show. Even look into that. I think that sounds like a good writing hack. Or
every once in a while, we get some guests that really kind of take a sledgehammer to the great idea and crack it open.
Well, and I'm talking. We've talked a lot about the Speechify and the listening back, but that's actually from one of our guests. That's from Michael Tallman. Tallman. He's the one who talked about that in his interview back in like season 1.
What's interesting about that,
and I've been using it ever since.
But what's interesting about that writer in particular is I still follow him on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and he actually stopped writing for a while, and he's been really into some big CrossFit and kind of working out and getting healthy and that stuff. And I thought he was done with it. He got in really good shape, lost tons of weight, and now he's like jerking, clinging, and whatever else they do, all that CrossFit stuff. But I saw today that he started writing again, and he said, "Hey, I got like 400 or 500 words or something, whatever written." And I was like, "Man, that's super awesome. I need to send him a message because it's super cool."
Well, and I think his writing. I think the thing about his writing is that it was almost literary, and it was his publisher at the time. It was marketing it as space opera, or science fiction, and so that's the thing is he just needs the right audience.
Yeah,
and he's a good dude. So.
Cronus
but I'm still in his idea about the he didn't call it Speechify, some other app, and I'm going to keep it for myself.
Yeah, definitely being selfish. Let's see. John Davies wrote, "Definitely added new authors to my to be read pile, and I stay ever hopeful that you will produce an anthology of future police stories with Scott writing about a coyote."
Always the coyote.
That's true. That's true. Patricia Gillum says, "Very happy to have found and got the opportunity to meet almost all of you." And Patricia, it was awesome to meet you at the hangout at 20 Books last year, or this year rather. Josh Gayu says, "The podcasting is probably something I want to dive deeper into at some point, maybe, but who knows?" At podcasting, if you have never done it, or if you're interested in doing it, now after having done it for so long and kind of figuring it out by accident, podcasting is also, it's where it's at for content. Like if you have if you have an urge to get in front of people, podcasting is where it's at, because you can do it live, you can do it recorded, you can do it video and audio. There's so many things that you can do, and there's so many people that
phone a friend.
Yeah, you can phone a friend, and almost everyone is getting into podcasts now. Almost, it's kind of like the audiobook market, where it's kind of having that revolution over the last couple of years. I think it's really starting to hit its stride. So is podcasting. Everybody's doing podcasting, and everybody listens to them.
Yeah, there's a lot of podcasts out there.
Let's see. We've got a couple questions in the. Let's see. This one's a long one. Hey guys, how do you go about writing a series? Do you outline the first 3 books before writing the first book? Do you wait until you have 3 books written before you publish on Amazon, if there are more than 3 in a series? That's a whole lot to unpack, and I know that we've talked a little bit about that in prior episodes. Very generally, it really kind of depends on how you write and how you want to go about it, your marketing strategy with the books. Having them in stock so you could do a rapid release is a very good marketing ploy, a good tactic. It works, just as Scott. It does work, but you also have to be able to maintain that. If you're doing,
you have to,
like a 10-book series, you have to be able to maintain that over the series if that's what you're going to establish for your reader base. If you don't know that you can maintain that, it's kind of a slippery slope to start on, because then you set up the expectation.
Yeah, right. And the other thing about that is, and I think a lot of people have talked about this, I'm going to stockpile 6 books and then launch them and do the rapid release.
Right.
And that is good, but the problem is it only is good if you know you can sell them.
Absolutely.
If you write 6 books and you throw the first one out there and it tanks because your market research is wrong, or you killed the dog in the first chapter, or whatever happened that making it not work, or you didn't have a marketing budget, or you just, and then that's really dangerous, because now you've probably spent 3 years writing 6 books. I'm just generalizing here, and for nothing. So I think that you just have to be careful with that. I think that setting a more reasonable rapid release, like say, write your first book, at least have a good idea. Like I like to write like a 1-page synopsis of each book in this series or something like that. You could do that. And then if the first one starts to take off, then do a every 90 days rapid release, which is much more doable. And it still has a good algorithm effect. It's not as good as 30 days, but it's still a real thing. And that's not that unreasonable.
Right.
But I overheard somebody at 20 books, and she said she was getting ready to release her 16-book series, which she had completely written the entire series. She wrote a 16-book series, hasn't released one single book in it, and and I hope it does well, but that's hugely dangerous. And there's a thing called opportunity cost. So basically you had books not earning money for probably 2 years when they could have been earning money that whole time if you just started a little bit earlier putting them out there.
Right.
So I caution people against stacking up a whole bunch of books that are untested.
Especially if you're like, if this is your first thing that you're going to do as an author, and that kind of goes whether you're going to plot or not. I think if you're going to do a series like that, plotting and outlining is going to be, if you want to do a rapid release, outlining is probably going to be a necessity for
absolutely.
writing.
And overall, you need to have an idea where that whole series is going.
Right.
You know, you don't want to just say, okay, I've got a general thing for the first book, but I want to do 10 books. Let's just write the first one. And, you know, you don't necessarily have to outline every single book in depth, but you need to know what happens where for the life of the series so that it doesn't just fall apart in the middle.
You can see if it has enough. And I mean, that'll be a good exercise. And is this concept big enough to go 10 books?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And then the other thing I was going to say is if this is your first project as a writer, doing something that massive might be counterintuitive to what you're thinking it's going to be. Like, you think in your head that this is the best thing that you've ever written, and it's so massive and it's awesome. It's going to be the next Game of Thrones / Star Wars. It's going to be awesome. And then you put it out there, and let's just say, like Scott's saying, you've spent a year writing all these books, and then they don't sell. Like, you sell like 4 copies, right? Now, not only have you wasted all that time, well, it's not wasted. Not only have you spent all that time working on a project that's now not making you any money, but now you have crushed your expectations so badly that you might stop writing.
Hype yourself out.
Yeah.
And that I think is a bigger failure than just not making any money, because like people write all like for years and never make any money. But if you're going into this from a business standpoint of, I'm going to create this product and I'm going to sell it, but it doesn't sell for whatever reason, it doesn't have to be that your writing is bad. It could be that your story wasn't, as good as you cracked up it to be. You could have great prose and your story just sucks, right? But if you put it out there and then nobody buys it and it completely crushes your will to write, then that could be more damaging than anything. So I would say, if it's your first project and you're wanting to start to do this, I would say start with a trilogy and then just go from there.
Absolutely.
Write your trilogy, write it the best way you can, plot it out the way you want. And if it does well, then you can do like another set of trilogies or another book after that. And that way you're not spending all this time. For Ben Hale, who was on our show a couple times, he came on originally in season 1. I think he came back on in season 2 or 3. But what he does is, well, what he used to do was he would write 6 months out of the year and slam out all these books, and then he would have a 6 month launch window where he would launch the books. And he was still working on books and stuff while he was launching, but he always have a 6 month launch window. And so half the year he'd be publishing books. And so his readers came to expect that.
Yeah.
And he did very well. I don't know that most authors could get away with doing that. It just depends on what you want to do. But he also released trilogies. He would release a trilogy then and do another trilogy and release another trilogy.
Right. And if this is also, if this is your very first foray into indie publishing, I'm going to be the dark voice of reality here and say, manage your expectations.
Right.
Nobody wins their first, you're not going to get your best time on your first marathon. It's just, don't go into this thinking I'm going to throw these out there and they're going to back a dump truck full of money up to my front door. It's not going to happen that way.
It's almost better if it doesn't, because the few people that does happen to, you usually see they'll have one book that like blows it out of the, but then like the next book it'll do awesome by most people's standards, but it never does because that first book, because they don't know why it's successful. They just got
Right.
lucky. It's better to earn it.
Don't count
Even
on
if-
the lightning strike. It's you just
Yeah.
go in there, look at the whole thing. My advice is to look at the entire experience of writing the first 3 books, publishing your first 3 books. Look at the entire thing as a learning experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, you are figuring out how this works with those novels, from producing your product to getting your product on the market.
I like Guy's comment in there.
Oh yeah. This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that either.
I recommend not even going for a trilogy for a new author. Focus on one book and do the best you can. At the end, you can write a new one or next novel in the series. It's very true. It's very true, and also you have to look at fatigue too when you're writing a story.
Well,
You know, like Scott can attest to this, and so can I to a point. But you know, you have this grand point book series. You write 4 books, and you're just sick of it, and you don't want to write it anymore.
Yep.
And now
so here's
yeah.
So here's the secret, though. If you write that first book and it goes crazy successful, how much motivation are you bringing to the table every day to write the second book? Because you're going to be on fire.
Yep.
Rather than trying to finish up a book after the first 2 didn't do well and you don't understand marketing or something, and that's just like a soul crushing drudgery every day because your expectations are up here and
Right.
more realistic thing. But so I agree. I think you should write it and get it out there as quick as you can, as long as it's the best product you can produce. Now, I would say never write more than 2, or maybe you finish one, do a first draft of the second one, and make some notes on where 3's going. Anyway,
Right.
yeah, lots of good stuff there.
You could be like Chuck and write a whole bunch of different series and a whole bunch of different genres and see which one you like better.
Oh, yeah, don't be like Chuck. Aim higher.
Everybody should be like Chuck.
Everybody should aim higher.
Well,
If someone were to look up C. Stephen Manley and look at your books, which one would you want them to? You want Brace Cordova or Master of Hounds? Like, which one would you say this one is what I want people to read first?
If somebody told me that I had to pick one of my series and that was the only thing I could write, it would probably be the Pickman Files. But the Brace Cordova stuff is actually the most popular with my small handful of readers that I have. I've got people who are legit irritated at me because I haven't released the 3rd one yet. Well, I ran into that problem of not being able to say no to things, and so I'm just got pulled. That was part of the problem this past year. I just got pulled in too many directions. Yeah. But no, I think at my core, I'm an urban fantasy / horror guy.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I cut my teeth on. That's what I grew up with. It's what I love to read. So that's where I'm at.
And I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but it was Chuck's birthday a couple of days ago. Yesterday. And so for Chuck's birthday, this is what I want everyone to do. I want to go.
Oh shit!
I want everybody to go follow this link if you have not bought Master of Hounds yet, because that's the one I thought it was. And I want you to follow that link right now and go buy Chuck's book. As a birthday present to Chuck. Everyone that's listening to the show or watching later, go right now and buy Master of Hounds. It's the Pickman Files. It's the book one. This book is really cool if you haven't read it. It's on audio. And Chuck is a really good writer. And the cover of this book is phenomenal. I remember when he first got it and he showed us, and I was like, dude, that's
my favorite cover, hands down.
That's one of the best urban fantasy covers I've seen in a long time. Chuck, do you want us to give the rundown on this book, or you want me to read the blurb, man?
I guess you could read the book or read the blurb, or I could tell you. I'll just tell you. I always wanted to write a book set in my hometown. And so this novel, The Master of Hounds, is actually set in Huntsville. So the basic premise of it is there's a guy who's a former Air Force pararescueman who got out of the service and became a emergency room RN. And he's at work one night, and all kinds of crazy shit happens, and he gets sucked into a world, he gets sucked into this situation where he discovers that underneath the everyday world there is magic, there is monsters, and there are secret groups that deal with this and try to keep it all out of the public eye because reasons. So he meets this character named Arlo Dandridge, he's basically a wizard, but he's one of the most powerful of his kind, like in the country or the world. And the price for that power, though, is that he has these severe mental issues that he has to constantly pay attention to. He'll get manic real fast or whatever. He has a lot of problems. So on top of being this super powerful mage, he has to have someone with him to help him interact with the rest of the world, because he can lose his shit really easily. So Dandridge and Clint Mercer, the RN guy, they kind of meet up and they have their thing that they got to deal with. And because of Clint's background in the military as basically a combat paratrooping paramedic, they handle the threat that is trying to take out Huntsville, Alabama. So there you go. Lots of Cthulhian monstery type stuff. And it's a fun book. I'm really proud of it. And one of the worst reviews I got for it was total 80s horror action movie. And I was like, that's criticism?
Yeah, right. Thank you.
Thank you.
That sounds fun to me.
What we should do is we should all come out there, and then we can do like a walking Master of Hounds, and you can walk us to all the scenes.
Actually, if you go to my YouTube, we've got a big cemetery here in Huntsville called Maple Hill Cemetery. And I used to have to walk. Well, I used to work at the hospital that Clint works at. And I used to walk to work through that cemetery. And it's this really big thing. So I actually wrote a running shootout through that cemetery.
Nice.
And I actually did a little video. I think it's on my YouTube channel. One of the 2 videos I have on my YouTube channel. But I actually did a little thing talking about, going out and scouting locations when you're doing a book and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed writing that book.
That's a good one.
And a lot of people in the chat have saying that they're already have already bought it. If you've already
guys, thank you so much.
If you've already bought it before today, go and buy another one of his books. Just click on the little link, and we're gonna
everybody.
It's also
we're gonna buy him at least 11 books tonight. At least
we need to do that so we can get him a new webcam. Because otherwise, we're not going to. If you care about seeing Chuck's smiley face on Keystroke Medium, and it can come out.
All right.
Everybody show out.
How
we're going to do screenshot Chuck without.
That's right. Bill cannot.
Otherwise, you're stuck with the dumpster fire avatar I've got up here.
Bill needs material for his memes.
Yeah.
So I'm scrolling through the videos that we've done and the interviews that we had for season 4 on our list, and looking at the guests going all the way back to January of this year, and we really had a huge list of guests this year, like we do all every season. I'm scrolling through here looking at let's see, where's January? Where did we start off last year? January, boom. So January 3rd, actually, last year, the first episode of last year was actually a Writer's Journey episode with Jay Gold, and they did beat sheets. And then we had, where's ours? Let's see where ours went. Anyway, we've had, let's see, we had Matthew Mather on the show. Casey Zell, I think, is in the top running for the most interviewed guest of season 4. Right. I think I'll go back and look, but she was on a lot. I love Casey. She's great.
Yeah.
We had Josh Giselle on the show.
Some sort of award.
I think he's been on every season. Hasn't Josh Giselle been on every season? I think so.
I think so.
I started Morning Haze for like 3 days and then stopped. I should do a. I've been thinking about doing like a late night stream where it's just like me typing and then talking with whoever comes in the stream.
Dude, I was thinking about doing that exact same thing.
Oh, maybe we could do a writing sprint streams.
I've been trying to think of a way to get some more content in there, and I mean, blogging would kind of make sense just because I can write wherever and whenever. But you know,
Right.
the video thing, you know, it works better with keystroke and all. So I definitely want to try to get some more content out.
Maybe we should do some live streams where we're
I'm
writing.
down.
That'd be fun. Somebody asked about a link to my YouTube channel. I just posted a link to that video in the Keystroke Medium Facebook group. So if anybody wants to watch that cemetery video.
Let's see. We had Nick Sansbury Smith on. I talked to three or four of the Nebula nominees this year.
We had Amy Duboff on. I'm pretty sure.
Amy Duboff and Rep Bruno.
Right.
And Richard, and I thought there was another one, but I don't remember who it was. Let's see. We had Michael Andele back on. Andy Peliquin's always great to have a guest. Josh Gayu was on the show the first time this year. Also, I think season 4 has the most camera transitions of My Office of any season.
People are really confused about like, does he live on the road because he's always in a different office? Yeah. Who was it that did the Western, the weird Western?
Haley Stone.
Haley Stone. Yeah, that was
a phenomenal book. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was a really good one.
We also had the wives on. Do you guys remember that when we had David Weber's wife and Chris Kennedy's wife and Larry Correa's wife? That one was fun.
My wife actually threatened to get in the chat tonight and try to convince us to sing Christmas carols.
We wish you a merry.
Well, if we do, then Josh's hat might come to life and eat his face. Remember that time Josh's had a hat ate his face? We had to get the show early.
Let's see. Who else did we have on this year? James S. Aaron. I don't know. I thought we had James S. Aaron on before the season, but maybe it's
just hard to keep track.
It is really hard
to keep track. For 4 years.
Chris Porto and David Bruns came on. That was a good episode. Kevin J. Anderson came on the first time this year. And I'm jealous of Lauren because I think Lauren's had him on the writing journey twice, and we've only had him on live once. I'm very jealous of that. Martha Carr came on. Joe Solari was on the writer's journey. The writer's journey is really taken off this year.
It's the grown-up version of this.
Yeah. It's the quality content that keeps.
I mean, you just look back at some of the guests they've had and some of the topics that they've had. Joe Solari on their show.
They got Larry Brooks on there.
Larry Brooks. I mean, come on, man.
If you're into writing books, you're geeky about writing books. Larry Brooks and the story engineering, story physics, all those are amazing. Those are really great.
Luke says, do an episode of wives of people in the live chat. Yeah. Well, we can do 6 wives and just have them just go on that.
That's how a podcast gets shut down.
Yeah. Maybe we should have an episode where our 3 wives get on and talk shit about us. That would probably be the most popular episode.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh yeah.
It would
100%.
Be coming back hanging my head.
Sarah Nocky was on the writer's journey. Met her in Vegas. She was very nice.
Oh yeah, she's fun.
She had those cardboard cutouts in her room, and she was trying to figure out how to shine a light on the front so you could see him, and it was very creepy. Mark,
one of my goals for 2020 is to make it to Vegas.
Dude, you've got to come this year, man. Got to.
We're gonna fly to Huntsville, Alabama, do the walking tour.
Throw me in a van and
then grab you and fly you back.
Somebody text Chuck when we got. Chuck, is there an elephant in your front yard? Chuck comes, what do you mean there's an elephant in front of everyone? Oh God! Put a bag over his head, throw him in the van.
Yep.
Let's see.
Trip. We should do a Keystroke Medium road trip where we get a van and we drive from Alabama to Vegas or someplace. Maybe loop around up through Idaho and all the people.
That's right. Guy says Kevin J. Anderson was on both Live and Writer's Journey. Kevin J. Anderson's a machine, man. I can't believe how much I bought his dictation book as part of my prep for this new computer and the transcription I'm going to do. I bought his dictation book. I'm reading. I think I'm like through the first like 2 chapters. I think it's a really good book. Also, side note, our anthology Farthest Reach is out, and readers are reading it and loving it. Lauren is doing some really, really cool interviews with the authors about their short stories. And it was something that Scott and I did way, way back in the day, like probably season 1-ish, where we did, I don't even know if we called them season back then, but we did interviews with the authors of the Through the Wormhole anthology that Nathan Heisted and Ralph Kern did. And it was a beast of a project to do. And Lauren is nailing these interviews, and they're great. They're very focused, and Lauren's just a great interviewer all the way around.
She's a great job.
And I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there's 6 out there right now. There's several more scheduled. Let's see.
She said she's going to do one for me this week.
Awesome. Carrie Osborne, Kayleen Williams, Luke Barnett, James Clifton Slater, and Kevin G. Summers and Rick Parlow. Rick Parlow's interview today was a very good interview. You missed it. And she does them live on Facebook. It's basically the same setup here, just during the day with the authors, and they're great.
Important to have Rick's interview so people can put a face to that word count, so they take him down in January.
Bill's make a Rick Parlow target meme, and everybody's just throwing darts at him the whole time, like word darts. So I'm looking through this, and we had a really, really fun year. I couldn't be happier with the growth that we've had, the guests that we've had, and the content that we've done this year. We published 3 anthologies this year.
Yeah, 3.
I'm hoping maybe we can do some more in the future, but I think that was I think the 3 anthologies were awesome. I think that we got some really good authors and some really phenomenal stories in those volumes. And I was honored to be able to publish those and get those out there. Something we hadn't done before. But it's like everything. You try something, and if it doesn't work, you move on. So I think that they're great collections. If we can do one next year, I think we should try. What else did we did so much stuff this year. It's really hard to
covers for a cure.
Covers for a cure. Holy crap. We raised almost, what do we do? 5,000? What do we do this year? I think
something like that.
It was a lot of money. And we were able to donate that to Matt Young and his family. And that was a really cool event to do, and to be able to touch someone's life that was close to Scott and I, and all of you guys for being a part of it and helping. We're gonna have to start planning covers for Cure 4 this year, and hopefully kick that off with a bang. And we're gonna be our content model going into season 5 is going to be a little bit different, and I know we've been a little long, and so we'll try to wrap it up here, but we're going to be doing a lot more roundtables in season 5. We're going to be a lot more of what you see right here. The Monday night
with my actual face, though.
Well, hopefully
with Chuck's new webcam.
That's right. And probably what we're going to do is guest wise is, instead of having authors on just to interview those authors, we want to give more valuable content to our viewers and listeners. And so probably what we're going to be doing is doing a lot of content, craft oriented shows that are specific to a craft topic, like we do on the roundtables, and then invite authors in to talk about those craft topics. And of course, we'll talk about their books and everything. But
you just make a roundtable and go for it.
That's right. On season 5, we really want to focus on you guys as the viewers and the listeners and the audience, and really the breadth of Keystroke Medium. Because if it wasn't for everybody that listens or watches or interacts with us in the Facebook group. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have a show. And so season 5 is going to be the give back year. We want to be a lot more inclusive with our audience. A lot more interaction is what we're pushing for in our content, and so that's where we're heading to next year. So if you guys ever have anything that you want to talk about, anything that you want to break down, or just hang out and talk about, hit us up in the group, hit us up in private message. We'll talk about it. If it's something that we can fit into the show schedule, we'll do it. And it's going to be a great year. I haven't decided if we're going to do our last episode next week, or if we'll count this as our last episode. I'm not sure if we'll do one next week. We might take a week off and then come back in January and do our goals. Or maybe we'll just do a writing stream episode next week.
Free for all.
See what we can do. Maybe we'll do a free for all.
We could do an intro to the word count contest, so everybody can be ready on January 1 to take Rick down.
Terrible idea.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We can do that.
And then we can just talk about random stuff.
All right. We'll hang out. We'll do our goals. Let's see. What's the first episode in January? January 6th will be the first episode of season 5. And so that we'll talk about goals, and I'll put a post tonight or maybe next week in the Facebook group, and so we can get all your goals, and then also in the live chat we'll talk to you guys about them, because goals are important, and if you put your goals out there and talk about them, then they are real, and then you have to do them. Because if you don't talk about them, you can just change them, and then we'll come back and be like, nah, you said you were going to do this. So everybody that watched this year, everybody that came has been with us from the beginning, all the new people that are joining today, this week, next week, or whenever you're listening, thank you very much for listening and hanging out with us on Mondays and on Thursdays. Like I said, if it wasn't for you guys, Keystroke wouldn't be here, and it wouldn't be the fun time that it is. We get to hang out and talk with you guys every Monday. So thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great Christmas. And the family time is where it's at this week. So thank you guys for watching. And as always, come back next time. We're going to talk about some reading. We're going to talk about some writing and all the Merry Christmases in between right here on Keystroke Medium. Peace.
Have a great holiday, everybody.
Happy holidays.